Interpersonal communication. The basis of communication. Peterson denotes that communication is one of the most important skills to have in society today. Communicating while at work, within the family, and socially are inevitable. Therefore, whether positive or negative, generally people must communicate with one another. Peterson further explains that these are reasons why listening is crucial. Listening heightens the effectiveness of communication and enables clear understanding and healthy interactions. Introduction. Interpersonal communication. Interpersonal communication is the exchange of conversation between two or more individuals, which can be taught and improved, especially if one does not know how to interact effectively with others. During the interpersonal communication process, messages are both received and sent, whether directly or indirectly. The main goal of interpersonal communications consists of both the sender and the receiver understanding the message. According to Stewart, interpersonal communication occurs when individuals speak in ways that maximize the manifestation of the personal. In today's society, information is constantly being sent, received, and processed as messages every minute of every day. It is important to note that communication is much more than sending and receiving information. Rather, to be effective, the individuals must demonstrate understanding of the emotions, which are usually behind the sent message. Interacting within communication settings include situations surrounding family matters, occupational, and international relations. Humans can benefit from better listening, as in society at present, many people fail to understand what the other is saying as well as how to effectively convey their message. Most of the time, it is because people are poor listeners and therefore misunderstanding becomes a factor. Berlin Allen initiates that often people fail to comprehend the importance of listening, and at times, due to neglected listening skills, they make assumptions that he or she are hearing when in fact they have tuned out of the conversation. Moreover, Berlin Allen says that it is vital for effective listening for people to tune into what the other person is saying as well as what they themselves are saying. Likewise, keeping an opinion and receptive mind will broaden their intellect and allow new ideas and insights. Overarching goal. Learning to listen to children and to teach children listening skills. As a teacher at a high school, it appeared to me how often teachers misunderstand students and vice versa. Many times, these children instantly jump to the conclusion that he or she are being blamed or in trouble when they are approached in a conversation, while at the same time, the teachers instantly assume the child is guilty based on certain classifications or preconceptions. Miscommunication and totalizing can be major factors when working in a school setting. An author named Catherine Schwartz, who wrote a book called Listening, a Framework for Teaching Across Differences, states, I encouraged student teachers to envision teaching as listening, to learn who their students are and to understand their local context in order to develop ways to teach all students, especially in contexts where, as teachers, they cross boundaries of race, class, or culture. Essentially, considering the different divisions of a child's life will help teachers to not only listen, but also communicate with the student on his or her level. Stewart, the most influential communication events are conversations. Therefore, one must learn to adequately interact within a conversation. If not, then he or she are likely to misunderstand the other. Stewart teaches that each of us incorporate pieces of our culture's values and beliefs when we are having a conversation with someone. In some ways, these factors are heightened when dealing with children because he or she have not learned skills or when to apply certain characteristics or attributes in a conversation as they rely on what is familiar. Thus, Stewart's teachings and Schwartz's as well helps one to effectively communicate with children, demonstrating the need to acknowledge the other person, Be mindful of them and show understanding, allowing them to be heard. Accordingly, if one is not aware of these factors, then he or she can begin totalizing. Totalizing occurs when a person infers that one part or small fractions of another person as being the totality of the individual, thereby blocking any other characteristics that could have been a part of the conversation. Enlarging conversation. According to Peterson, asking open-ended and clarifying questions are effective ways to enlarge a conversation. In addition, this is especially good when communicating with children, as it will allow them to speak freely and make statements without feeling as if the person they are speaking with is answering for them, presuming to know what they are thinking and feeling before he or she expresses it. Peterson uses the midwife metaphor to explain the open-ended and clarifying concept. He denotes that a midwife helps individuals to give birth to his or her feelings and thoughts within themselves. Enlarging conversation continued, thus proving that listening is the better skill over speaking. Peterson infers that listening gives support to the speaker and allows them to tell their stories. Along with listening, the person who is receiving must also be understanding of how the speaker is feeling regarding the story being told. Therefore, the enlarging of a conversation consists of one stepping outside his or her comfort zone and trying to extend a new way of thinking, which is helpful to the talker. I grew up in Baltimore, Maryland in the early 80s. Drugs was a big factor at that time. This is how my background has influenced me. Growing up, I lived around painful scenarios. There was abuse and torturing situations. My cousins and I were sexually abused by other cousins living within our household. For me, my father was also my perpetrator. My aunts and uncles, my father included, were addicted to drugs and alcohol. I moved from home to home and spent my nights hungry, as the adults around were generally incapacitated. However, often my cousins and I would take care of the younger children and would do all we could to feed them. The way I was influenced positively was creative, intelligent, resourceful, independent, and strength. Skills I developed. The way I was negatively influenced was dispirited, rebellious, mistrusting, introverted, and precarious. Behavioral blends. Behavioral blends are a concept into personality which was taught and explained by Miles Carbonell. Within his textbook, How to Solve the People Puzzle, Carbonell describes in depth the concept of the behavioral blends. These blends are broken down into 4 concepts of temperaments and human behaviors. The behavioral blends enlist the different behavioral characteristics of a person. In addition, a person may have many different blends to which lead to his or her persona. There are 4 types of temperament incorporated in the model of human behavior. DISC. The characteristics are blended together and thus make up each individual in his or her unique form. The elements of DISC consist of D, direct, dominant, and determined; I, influencing and inspiring; S, submissive and sensitive; and C, cautious and calculating. Personally, my behavioral blend consists of influencing and inspiring. I feel this blend best fits my personality because I am what my friends and family like to call a social butterfly. I tend to get along with just about any group, and I like to keep the peace and find the good in everything. Because my background was difficult, I tried to mirror my life in a positive fashion and stray from situations and people that are negative. Behavioral blend positive influences. Thus, my behavioral blend positive influences me as humorous, positive, friendly, open-minded, devoted, headstrong, and go-getter. Negative influences are overly precocious, restless, impatient, unaccepting, egocentric, persistent, and controlling. Potential barriers. Potential barriers would would be me not adhering to others' opinion, thoughts, or feelings, thereby creating miscommunication and difficult conversations, becoming defensive quickly in a conversation, talking to oneself negatively, becoming emotional, difficulty disclosing, physical, fatigue, temperament, temperature, hunger, time, or weather. Behavioral barrier solutions. Solutions may consist of being aware of what one is feeling as well as learning to listen and take notes. Begin stating positive declarations instead of negative ones, adhering to what is important to oneself. Remember to ask questions as well as give feedback. Be flexible. Remember to eat and remain relaxed and avoid projecting one's own beliefs or values. Noise pollution. According to Berlin Allen, noise pollution are facts that tend to influence an individual from being able to listen effectively. Distractions. There are internal and external noise pollutions. Internal pollutions would be illness, childhood factors, stress. External pollutions would be a person's gender, their environment, and social media. Solutions to noise pollution. Solutions for filtering out these barriers consist of the receiver, the person listening, asking questions, and remaining focused on the talker's story. In addition, refrain from any thoughts or emotions that may cause pollution within one's mind, thereby remaining engaged in what is being said and the emotions being shown by the talker. My plan of action. I believe that a plan of action will help me to apply all that I have learned on communication and listening when I am interacting with others. These tactics I hope to imply are paraphrasing, focusing on the talker, showing respect for the person talking, lean toward healthy relationships by building trust and showing empathy. The end. Thanks for listening.